One of the biggest U.S. foreign policy reversals in years just happened, and it arrived at the same moment Washington hinted the Iran standoff could get even more dangerous. Welcome to the Automated Daily, Top News Edition, the podcast created by generative AI. I'm Trend Teller, and today is August 25th, 2026. Here's what matters today. This episode is brought to you by Crispcall. Crispcall provides agentic cloud telephony for modern businesses. Find the link in the episode notes. We'll start in the Middle East, where the story we've been following on Iran took a sharper turn. The U.S. has rolled out what Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is calling Operation Economic Outcast, expanding secondary sanctions to hit more of Iran's financial, shipping, and energy networks. In the same update, War Secretary Pete Hegseth said Washington is not ruling out military strikes against Iran or even in the Strait of Hormuz. That combination matters because it raises the risk of a clash in one of the world's most important oil choke points. Markets noticed right away. The dollar struggled to gain momentum, Treasury trading turned choppy, and crypto prices kept rising as investors looked for places to hide from geopolitical and currency risk. In a separate but equally notable move, the U.S. removed Syria from its list of state sponsors of terrorism. That is a major policy shift after the end of the Assad regime and could open the door to reconstruction money, outside investment, and broader economic re-engagement. Supporters see it as a way to reward political reform and pull Syria back into normal diplomacy. Critics say Washington may be moving faster than conditions on the ground justify. Either way, it is a significant signal that U.S. policy in the region is being redrawn, and not just through sanctions. Staying with conflict diplomacy, Washington is also trying to widen the UN arms embargo on Sudan, so it applies to the entire country and clearly covers drones as well. The U.S. argument is straightforward. Too many weapons are still flowing in, and that is helping keep the war alive. Humanitarian groups have been pushing for stronger action for the same reason. The hard part, as usual, will be getting enough support at the Security Council to turn that proposal into something enforceable. Now to North America, where the trade fight with Canada just escalated again. In the latest development, President Trump said the U.S. will impose 50% tariffs on Canadian cars, trucks, auto parts, and steel starting January 1, with some duties already kicking in on certain products. Canadian officials are calling it economic bullying and warning they will respond. The bigger issue here is how deeply integrated the U.S. and Canadian manufacturing base has become. When tariffs hit parts as well as finished vehicles, the costs can ripple across factories, dealers, and consumers on both sides of the border. Back in Washington, the Supreme Court handed the Trump administration a meaningful, if temporary, victory on election rules. The justices lifted a lower court freeze on key parts of the president's executive order on mail, saying the current challenge was premature. That means the order can move forward for now, even though the broader legal fight is far from over. The immediate effect is practical as much as political. Election officials now have to adjust procedures ahead of the midterms, while critics warn stricter ID rules and limits on ballot drop-off could make voting by mail harder for many people. The administration is also preparing a much broader immigration clampdown. Internal planning points to what could become the largest mass visa revocation in U.S. history, potentially affecting up to 200,000 asylum seekers. At the same time, officials are proposing a new H-1B visa fee that would be so high it could fundamentally change how companies hire skilled workers from abroad. Supporters say the goal is tighter control and less abuse. Opponents see legal trouble ahead, along with major disruption for families, employers, and sectors that rely on international talent. And finally, a sign of how global military priorities are shifting. The U.S. has canceled a major joint amphibious exercise with South Korea that was planned for September, citing force constraints tied to ongoing wars in the Middle East. For Seoul, this is more than a scheduling issue. Exercises like this are part of deterrence, and when they are pulled back, allies start asking whether U.S. attention is getting stretched too thin. American and South Korean officials say they are looking at alternatives, but the cancellation will still be watched closely in Pyongyang and across the region. Thanks to our sponsor, SurveyMonkey. Don't just know what happened, know why. SurveyMonkey can help you unlock insights by combining feedback with operational data to get vital context. Find the link in the episode notes. That's the top news for today. A tougher U.S. line on Iran, a major reopening towards Syria, new trade friction with Canada, and more legal and political battles at home. Thanks for listening to the Automated Daily Top News Edition. I'm Trend Teller. See you tomorrow.